The Boeing 757 stands apart from typical aging aircraft. This remarkable machine continues to slice through the atmosphere with rocket-like precision, decades after its maiden flight. Aviation professionals dubbed it the sky's sports car, but beneath this nickname lies an enigma. Here was an extraordinary design, swift, efficient, and groundbreaking, yet ultimately abandoned. What drove Boeing to bury an aircraft that could have revolutionized aviation forever? Few aircraft have demonstrated such enduring relevance. More than 4 decades since its inaugural flight, the 757 remains a common sight across global airways. Known among pilots as the sky's sports car, this aircraft carries a legacy that transcends ordinary aviation history. However, behind this celebrated reputation exists a puzzling narrative of an exceptional, rapid, and highly efficient design that was mysteriously discontinued. To understand this paradox, we must journey back to 1970. The world was experiencing significant economic and technological shifts. Oil prices had skyrocketed following Middle Eastern conflicts, compelling airlines to seek more fuel-efficient aircraft. Simultaneously, expanding domestic and international travel created demand for medium-range jets with enhanced capacity and performance capabilities. Within this context, Boeing developed the 757 as a modern, revolutionary replacement for the aging 727. Debuting in 1982, this single-aisle jet featured innovations that remain impressive today. The aircraft boasted refined aerodynamics, supercritical wings that reduced drag and improved performance, and powerful turbofan engines, either Rolls-Royce RB211 or Pratt & Whitney PW2000 units, each delivering over 35,000 pounds of thrust and already proven reliable in service. Practically, this meant the 757 could operate from relatively short runways of approximately 1,800 meters, cover extensive distances, and function at high-altitude airports with remarkable dependability. The aircraft accommodated between 180 and 240 passengers, depending on configuration, achieving ranges of roughly 4,000 nautical miles or over 6,000 kilometers. It represented the ideal solution for airlines operating medium-distance routes, including transcontinental services and later transatlantic flights under ETOPS regulations. The 757 quickly distinguished itself in the marketplace. It operated efficiently on domestic routes while proving reliable enough for East Coast US to Europe flights, using just 2 engines at speeds exceeding 800 kilometers per hour or Mach 0.86 during cruise. Its agility earned recognition from pilots, who described its control response as nearly athletic. The cockpit incorporated advanced digital systems and more dependable avionics, a standard later adopted in the 767's flight deck. However, the 757 story extends beyond technical achievements. Behind the brilliant engineering lay financial and strategic challenges that would eventually prove critical. While the aircraft excelled technically, a quiet rival gained momentum, the 737. Originally a smaller jet, the 737 underwent continuous updates over years, with new variants improving efficiency and increasing passenger capacity and range. Its greatest advantage was mass production capability. At peak production in the 1990s, Boeing manufactured approximately 15 units of the 737 monthly, compared to just 8 of the 757. This production difference directly impacted costs. The 757 was significantly more expensive to manufacture, with estimates suggesting each unit cost roughly $10 million more than an Airbus A321. For airlines seeking cost reduction and margin improvement, this difference was substantial. The market began favoring more economical aircraft, even those with inferior performance. Concurrently, Airbus began challenging Boeing with the A320 family, offering lower operational costs and greater fuel efficiency. The A321, the 757's direct competitor, was estimated to be up to 5% more fuel economy. Boeing faced a profound strategic dilemma. Should it invest in updating the 757 to address its high costs, or focus on the increasingly successful 737, which was cheaper with a guaranteed market? The answer came quietly but definitively. Behind the scenes, Boeing began channeling resources toward developing the 737 Next Generation, which promised improved performance, new avionics, and extended range. This new model became the company's flagship. When the MAX arrived years later with advanced technologies and more efficient engines, the 757 was already relegated to history. In 2004, the 757 production line officially closed. With it, the entire manufacturing infrastructure was deactivated. Tools, designs, knowledge, and supply chains were archived. Boeing determined that reviving the model was not viable. Time would prove this decision among the company's most controversial. In subsequent years, no aircraft fully occupied the space left by the 757. The gap in Boeing's product line between the MAX and 787 Dreamliner became apparent, a space where a 757 MAX would have reigned supreme. Across the Atlantic in Toulouse, France, Airbus found themselves in uncontested territory. The A320 family was a sales success, and like Boeing, they were already planning new versions. Airbus executives showed greater foresight, recognizing the gap left by Boeing and paying increased attention to the A321, which would later become Boeing's nightmare. Between 2004 and 2015, Airbus masterfully capitalized on Boeing's absence of direct competition. The A321, initially developed as an extended version of the A320, gradually transformed into the European manufacturer's crown jewel. In 2008, Airbus delivered 62 A321 units, but by 2015, this number jumped to an impressive 116 aircraft, representing 87% growth in annual deliveries. The true revolution came with the December 2010 launch of the A321neo, new engine option, promising a 15% fuel consumption reduction compared to the previous generation. By 2014, Airbus had accumulated over 750 orders for the A321neo alone, demonstrating that airlines sought exactly the type of aircraft Boeing had abandoned.
In 2014, Airbus delivered an even more strategic blow, introducing the A321LR long-range, capable of flying up to 7,400 kilometers with up to 220 passengers. Specifications placing it directly in the deceased 757-200 segment. Orders soared, with airlines like JetBlue, TAP Portugal, Aer Lingus, and Delta quickly embracing the model for transatlantic routes previously operated exclusively by the 757. The numbers were undeniable. Between 2010 and 2015, the A321 captured approximately 70% of the narrow-body aircraft market in the higher-capacity 185-240-seat range, generating estimated revenues of $26 billion for Airbus. Profit margins in this premium segment were substantially higher than smaller models. Analysts estimated 4 to 6% additional per unit. Meanwhile, Boeing watched its European rivals' expansion without immediate response capability. The 737-900, its closest alternative, had significantly inferior range and capacity compared to the A321. The space vacated by the 757 was now Airbus's unchallenged domain, forcing several traditionally Boeing-loyal airlines to diversify their fleets. Boeing was fully aware of Airbus's growing success. Internally, the company intensely debated how to respond to its rivals' dominance. Between 2010 and 2013, at least 3 secret development programs were initiated to evaluate potential 757 replacements. The first project, codenamed Yellowstone 2 or Y2, envisioned a completely new aircraft with composite fuselage similar to the 787 but on a reduced scale. With capacity for 180 to 250 passengers and range up to 8,300 kilometers, the Y2 would surpass the A321 in all aspects. However, development costs were estimated at $15 to $18 billion, a difficult investment to justify when Boeing already faced severe problems with the 787 program, which had exceeded budget by over $28 billion. The second path explored was the 757 MAX, or 757-300ER, a direct update of the existing platform with new high-efficiency engines. Internal analyses showed the aircraft could offer up to 17% better fuel consumption than the previous version and extended range to 7,800 kilometers. However, 2012 feasibility studies revealed significant technical obstacles. 1. The 757 production line had been completely disassembled in 2005, and reactivating it would cost approximately $5 billion, excluding re-engineering costs. 2. The landing gear would require complete redesign to accommodate heavier new-generation engines like the CFM LEAP 1B or PW1100G, adding approximately 2,700 kilograms to aircraft weight. 3. The wing structure, designed in the 1980s, would need extensive reinforcement to support modern engines, resulting in inferior weight-to-performance ratios compared to new Airbus designs. 4. The cockpit and avionics systems were nearly 3 decades outdated, requiring complete updates to meet modern regulatory requirements. Boeing's Vice President of Product Development, Mike Baer, revealed at a closed 2013 conference that the total cost to resurrect and modernize the 757 would be approximately 70% of developing a completely new aircraft, without the competitive advantages a clean sheet design would provide. The third alternative, internally called the 737-10X, proposed stretching the MAX 9 to create an even larger version. This option was most economical, with costs estimated at only $2 to $3 billion. However, Boeing engineers faced severe physical limitations. The 737, with its low fuselage design, wouldn't accommodate larger diameter engines without extensive structural modifications. When the CFM LEAP 1B was chosen for the MAX program, its 176-centimeter diameter left only 43 centimeters between engine and ground, significantly less than the A320neo with similar engines. This restriction limited aircraft efficiency, as more efficient engines typically require larger diameters. In 2014, Boeing officially discarded the possibility of reviving the 757 and internally announced development of what would become the MAX 10. The decision was heavily influenced by financial factors. The projected return on investment for the 757 MAX was only 9.2% over 20 years, compared to nearly 16% for the MAX 10, primarily due to lower development costs and compatibility with existing 737 lines. Customers weren't entirely convinced. When the MAX 10 was officially launched at the 2017 Paris Air Show, its specifications revealed limitations. Maximum range of 5,700 kilometers with 230 passengers, significantly below the A321XLR's 7,400 kilometers. Engine-to-ground clearance was limited to just 41 centimeters, requiring modified landing gear and raising questions about operations on unprepared runways. Some units have been sold, but the aircraft remains in FAA certification process. Recognizing the gap remained visible and dominated by Airbus, Boeing then made one of the company's most difficult decisions. In the quiet corridors of Boeing's former Chicago headquarters, whispers circulate about a mysterious new project. After years of speculation, internal documents leaked in 2023 revealed sketches of an aircraft that seems finally to answer the abandoned 757's legacy, Boeing's new bet, the 797. The so-called new midsize airplane, or NMA, presents an unprecedented configuration. Elliptical fuselage, wider than traditional single-aisle aircraft, but not reaching conventional wide-body dimensions. Sources close to the program claim the aircraft would have capacity for 240 to 270 passengers and 9,300-kilometer range, quietly surpassing the A321XLR. Most intriguing are rumors about its propulsion. Boeing is allegedly secretly negotiating with CFM International to develop a revolutionary engine with bypass ratio exceeding 15:1, significantly higher than current engines of 9:1, promising fuel economy up to 22% better than the A321XLR. However, time works against Boeing. With launch possibly planned for 2026 and first delivery not before 2030, the opportunity window narrows. Meanwhile, Airbus already studies a sixth A321 evolution, possibly with composite fuselage. The great question remains: will the 797 exorcise the ghost of the decision to abandon the 757? Or will it merely be another chapter in the 100-year-old American manufacturer's story of missed opportunities? As a former Boeing executive confided, sometimes the path not taken haunts more than any failure.